Joining me today for our webinar on digital marketing. My name is Kristy. I'm a presenter and an advisor for Business Station as part of the Digital Solutions program. Today we're going to go through a range of different things. The session is designed to be as interactive as you'd like to make it. So if you'd like to reach out at any time and ask any questions, please feel free to do so through either the chat or the Q&A functionality. They're the best two options, but like I said, feel free to stop me at any time. We'll also have some time at the end of the session for some questions as well. Now, in terms of what we're going to go through today, we're going to cover quite a bit. The idea of today's session is that it gives you a sort of a broad overview of some digital trends, some digital concepts, and I just sort of ask you to keep in mind throughout the session that if we start to get a little bit technical or if things start to seem a little bit confusing, just keep in mind there is further learning available on each and every topic that we cover. So today is an overview, and we have the range of workshops and webinars, plus our one-on-one advisory services that are available to really deep dive into each of these topics. So the topics that we're going to go over will include your website and websites in general. We'll look at online business listings, SEO, search engine optimization, SEM, search engine marketing. We'll look at a little bit of social media and then touch on email marketing as well. So all of the hot topics when it comes to digital marketing, of course, like I said, we do cover it all. All right. Before we get into websites and start sort of going into things further, we'll just quickly highlight the online marketing benefits. Now, as small business owners, no doubt you are involved in online marketing on some level already, but you have to keep in mind that most consumers will use the internet to search and find your businesses, and then they'll actively be seeking out information which can range from business to business and consumer to consumer. Sometimes it's something as simple as your contact details or your opening hours. Sometimes it'll be what products and services are actually on offer or available. And other times it's how to purchase products and services, and they want to actually transact at a time that suits them. So the key benefits in online marketing for businesses, particularly small businesses, are that it gives you that global reach. So you're able to reach more people than you ever have been before. So no matter whether or not you're an online focused business or you've got a bricks and mortar store, for example, you're still able to reach a lot more people, and you're able to do that 24/7. I think of your online presence as your 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week salesperson. So it is really important that you do take advantage of that and have that information readily available for people to source at a time that suits them. And that factors in things like time changes or time differences, as well as times that suit people to be gathering information. Now, online marketing is, of course, cost effective. It can be low cost, but the way I think of online marketing is that it is accessible to any size business or budget. Now, a lot of what we go through today, we'll start to talk about things that you can implement yourself. You might realize that some of the things that we go through are too technical and you'd prefer to pay a professional to do them, and that's okay. But I think having that core understanding that you can, in fact, do a lot of this stuff yourself, almost everything yourself, or scale up and down to suit your budget. The other key benefit is that results are measurable, and they're measurable and immediately available, I think, is really the key thing. So it's not a matter of placing an ad in a newspaper and hoping that it does well, waiting for the phone to ring. You can actually track what people are doing, how they're behaving with your advertising or in and around your website, for example. If something's not working, you can make some changes, and then you can immediately assess the measurement or the results of changes that you make. You can also accurately reach your target market through online advertising and online marketing. A key thing here is that you can be extremely targeted, but you have to clearly understand who your target market is. So if anyone has attended my webinars before, you'll know that I'm very passionate about target market. I think that it really unlocks the key to absolutely everything from a marketing sense. You have to know exactly who it is that is consuming your product or service, and then you know exactly where to place your advertising, how to speak to them, and what sort of online methods will work. so you can accurately reach your target market. And lastly, online marketing allows you to build lasting relationships with your customers. So it's not a one-off transaction where they've gone online, they've purchased something, you never speak to them again. You've got this ability through social media and through other digital channels to really keep that connection going well into the future. So perhaps these customers can become advocates and purchase again from you. Or even connecting with people in the lead up to their purchase. So you can start a relationship with these customers before they've even transacted with you. So lots of benefits to online marketing. Now, at the core of your online marketing is your website. I would say keep in mind that it's only part of the strategy. Potential customers need to be able to find that website. You also need to be able to actively engage with current and future customers online by way of social media and that kind of thing. So it is important that you understand it's only a part of the strategy, but it really is the core. Now, we're going to talk more about being found in social media and a few other things, but first of all, your website itself is a place where customers can find out about your products, make purchases perhaps, or make bookings depending on the nature of your business. Even if your physical store or office or whatever that might be isn't open, I would think of your website, as I said, as your 24-hour day, 7-day a week, your number one salesperson. So thinking of that, is your website actually doing your business justice? Is it selling your product and service as it should? I find a lot of small businesses will build a website and they go, yep, done that, got a website, particularly those that aren't e-commerce focused. So if the core of your business is walking into a shop, you may actually just build a website because, you think it's the right thing to do, never really give it any attention or look at it. But what you're forgetting is that there's so many people that may not even make it to your shop or to your storefront or to your office based on what they're seeing on your website. So is your website selling your product or service as it should, at the level that you would want a salesperson to sell that at? Now, there are some key design elements to consider. First of all, I would say look at the purpose of your website and cater to the needs of the user. So what are they on there to do? Are they on there to transact? Are they on there to get information? Perhaps they're on there to make a booking or an appointment with you of some sort. So really cater to the needs of what they're there to do, what that purpose is. From a communication perspective, make sure that the communication is clear. Your customers should be able to get information very quickly and easily via your website. Now, if you're finding that a lot of people are calling you to ask the same question, perhaps it's, a feature about your product or your service or where you're located or what your opening hours are, then that is possibly information that can go on your website. So really identify those kind of things as well, but make sure the information that is on your website makes sense, it flows well, and people can get that information and what they need very quickly and easily. Images are also really important. Fonts, colors, so that's that overall look of your website. Your images should position your brand correctly. They should feature your target market, so the people in them should be representative of who your core target market is. They should be professional pictures and true to your product or service. So there has to be that truth in advertising. I would highly recommend all businesses, no matter your size, really invest in professional photography or even learning how to take more professional shots yourself for your website. Because people use images and like the saying goes, images tell 1,000 words, and that's very, very true. Fonts also make up this overall look. They should be easy to read. They should be large enough for people to be able to clearly read them without having to sort of squint and figure out what they're seeing. Colors should be complementary and suit your target market. So this is kind of your overall brand that we're talking about. It's really important that your brand offline perfectly matches your brand online as well. So there has to be consistency there. Navigation is the next element. So how easy is it for people to take action and move around? The F pattern, the top to bottom, top to bottom, and then left to right is the most common navigation. Now, I see some websites that are getting a little bit fancier with their navigation, but ultimately you've got to work with what suits your target market, keeping in mind that that F pattern navigation really is the most widely sort of used and understood. Your load time is really important. Now, this is really important for the user. Obviously, we don't want to click a page and then wait for ages for it to come up, but also keep in mind, and we will talk about SEO, but it is a major factor for search engine optimization. So that is something that you really need to consider as well. Google isn't going to serve websites to consumers that are very slow to load. Mobile friendliness or being responsive is crucial. Now, what you see on your screen is an example of a responsive website. So you can see it has the full menu when you're looking at it on a desktop, and then that menu and the overall design of the site scales and changes depending on the size of the device that the consumer is looking at it on. You can see that the menu goes down and it simplifies as the size reduces. So that's what you're after. Again, it's a major factor for SEO, but it is a really important factor for users as well. You can have a look in your analytics and behind the scenes of your website statistics and have a look at how many people actually view your website currently from mobile. Now, we sort of see trends of around 50-50, so 50% desktop, 50% mobile, but some industries, like if you're a restaurant or a cafe, that might be as high as 80% of people are looking at your website on a mobile versus 20% on a desktop. So that's really important as well. Now, keep in mind, as I said, that everything about your website has to be targeted towards and aimed at your target market. Now, that's your design, your colors, your fonts, your technology, your functionality. It's all about who is going to be your core consumer. So really go back to basics in marketing and define your target market first, and then build your site accordingly. Now, having a great website is one thing, but people have to find it, and that's where the SEO element comes into it, which we'll talk about. Before we do, just talking a little bit more about a website build. Now, one thing I get asked all the time, and I speak to small businesses about all the time, is the comparison of building your own website versus using a developer. Now, I think that a website is an extremely valuable asset. If you have the skills and the time and the knowledge to be able to build it yourself, there's a lot of great content management systems and with templates that are very easy to use, create, install. So it's certainly doable, but I would also consider the professionalism side of things, and just determine, is it going to have that professional look and that same outcome if you build it yourself versus working with a developer. Now, if you do decide to work with a developer, keep in mind costs will vary depending on functionality, the size of your site. There's a range of different things that will impact cost. When you're choosing a developer, I would have a look at their past projects. I would try and understand their level of expertise in the industry that you're in. Make sure that they're very clear in the process and that it is very transparent in terms of timeframes, expectations. What does the price include? How many pages for your website? How many revisions? How many different styles? So all of that stuff is absolutely crucial. I would also ensure that it's built in a reputable content management system, which just means that you can log in at any time. If there's updates that are occurring due to changes in technology, then your content management system, things like WordPress, Wix, there's a range of different content management systems. They will be updated as technology changes. I also find that it helps to meet with them face-to-face if you can at all. Sometimes that's not possible, but just even having the ability to give them a call, have a chat to them, and talk through some things. You can lose a bit of that communication process in emails, and a bit of translation can be lost depending on what you're trying to achieve. So just being able to give someone a call and have a chat through things can really help. So always go based on recommendations as well. Now, just I guess expanding on the website content side of things, content is absolutely crucial for both SEO, so how well your website's going to rank, but also conversion. So in terms of your content, first of all, before you start writing your content, and this is more from an SEO factor, but also from your consumers, you have to do keyword research. You have to know what it is that people might search to get to your website in the first place, and then aim your content around that. Now, we actually have an entire webinar on keyword research because it's such an in-depth process. But a lot of people forget this element. Now, I speak to people and I say, talk to me about your website and SEO. Have you looked at SEO? Yeah, our website ranks really well. And I say, what kind of terms does it rank well for? And this is a question that stumps a lot of people. They're like, oh, I don't know. So really understanding, if you've worked with a developer, if you've paid for some SEO, or if you've done some search engine optimization yourself, what are the keywords that are actually being focused on for your website? And also, is there demand around those keywords? So there's a lot of tools that you can use to back up keyword research. So you might think, all right, I think people search cafe in Perth to get to my website. We will enter that in, have a look at what the actual search volume is. Is it 200 people per month that are searching that, or is it 2,000 people per month? So really gauge what the demand is. Once you've determined what the perfect set of keywords are for you, and there will be, depending on the size and scope of your business, you might have 5 key terms, you might have 25 key terms that you're trying to rank well for. Once you've determined that, you can then target your content around those key terms for the specific pages that it's relevant to. You will need to talk to your target audience. Of course, keep in mind your target market at all aspects of working on your website. Definitely be original, be succinct and to the point. Don't waffle. We want clarity here, and go back to that communication process. We want it to be as straightforward and easy to get information as possible. Headlines are really important. I'll talk a little bit about H tags, but headlines are really important for the user, so that we can go, all right, that headline must be what this page is about. And then there might be subsequent headlines breaking up content, but that's also crucial for SEO. Bullet points help to break up content too, so that can really work to just break things up and make it a little bit more digestible for the customer. Hyperlinking is really important. So internal links are a key factor of SEO. So making sure that if somebody, your homepage might talk about product A, B, and C. When you talk about product A, make that hyperlink to the product A page. So for the consumer, we're reading, you're telling us you can offer this product. I can then click it there and then, and it takes me straight to that page. I don't have to go back up to the menu and then find that relevant product page. Always proofread your content as well. That is absolutely crucial. So do keep that in mind. Your functionality and your accessibility. I mentioned your headings. Now, headings all from an SEO perspective are all weighted. So an H1 heading should be what the entire page is about. H2 should be what that section's about, H3, H4, and so on. So that's starting to get more into the technical SEO side of things, but making sure that you have consistency of headings across your website. So if your page looks and feels a certain way, if your website looks and feels a certain way on one page, make that consistent across other pages as well. Now, there is a 3 clicks or less rule that says that all internal pages of your site should be accessible in 3 clicks and less. So have a look at the flow and how people can actually get to certain pages. Your home link is really important. Make that clickable so that, and normally it's a logo. You don't have to have a home button. People do know, it's sort of a bit of an unwritten thing, that you click the logo and that will take you home. I would also say make your calls to action very obvious. Now, your calls to action could be find out more, it could be book now, it could be buy now, it could be, call us, or whatever that might be. So what is your call to action? Whatever it is that you want people to do in and around your site, make it obvious and repeat it. So there's nothing wrong with having that call to action on every page of your site. You never know at what point people are ready to transact or take that step. So I might have been on your website 3 times and now I'm on your About Us page because I just want to know a bit of history. And it's at that point I'm ready to book an appointment or to buy the product or service. So make that button available on all pages. Your navigation I did touch on. That's important as well. Technology-wise, I've touched on a lot of this, but being responsive is absolutely crucial. Being built with a content management system is really important as well. That online buyability or bookability is really important. There's a lot of statistics that really indicate that people are a lot more likely to interact and engage with your company if they can do so online through some kind of bookability, buyability, or some clear outcome, I guess. Hosting is also really important as well, so keep that in mind. Now, in terms of your branding, and I did touch on a few of these points as well, but keep your brand message clear across your website. Your brand should be consistent in terms of what's being represented offline as well as online. So do keep that in mind as well. Your logo should be high quality and it should be predominantly placed on every page. Your images should represent your brand and, as I said, speak directly to your target audience. Your color scheme should be solid. Powerful taglines that will engage your user and relate to what they might need will always really help as well. And obviously that call to action. Now, in terms of the layout is really important as well. The layout needs to meet a current standard width, which is about 960 pixels at the moment. Now, that's the active page area, so it doesn't include the background. It should be modern, clean, easy to read and navigate. It should look fresh. It should be organized as well within the layout. So keep in mind where you've got pages and sub-pages. So that should all make sense to the user. Your most important information and content that so users can get that real sense of who you are should be easily and readily available on your homepage. And then your sub-pages should have consistent layouts. A footer is important. Now that should have your contact info. Generally speaking, you'll have a repetition of your main navigation as well down the bottom. So consider that, consider what's on your footer at the moment. And then obviously your navigation needs to be pretty straightforward. Now, once you've got the website built, you then have to think about how well your website ranks. So that's SEO. We've used that term a couple of times, but for those that don't know what it is, it stands for search engine optimization. So in very simple terms, that's the process of improving your site to increase its visibility for relevant searches. So webbots will crawl your site to understand what the website and what your business is all about. They'll then index pages in their database and list your website's pages on the first page of results that are relevant to the key search terms and some of those indicators on each page. Now, that results in increased targeted visitation to your site and appearing in front of your target audience. But to be effective or worth your while, you have to do keyword research, as I said earlier. So you would do keyword research before you do any SEO whatsoever or make any changes to your website. You need to know what people are actually searching to get to your site. Now, to do keyword research, I'd highly recommend that you attend our keyword research webinar because it is absolutely fantastic and it has a lot of information on how to conduct keyword research, as well as some of the tools that you can use to actually look at key search terms and their volumes. So you can use the Google Keyword Planner tool. You can use tools like Uber Suggest, Keywords Everywhere. And with those tools, you enter in terms and it'll basically spit out a result as to what number of monthly searches there are on the terms that you've input. So have a thought, have a brainstorm, and then back it up with actual research. Now, in terms of SEO, good SEO is a combination of hundreds of different tactical efforts. It is changing and evolving. So things that you might have done in the past that resulted in top rankings, even just a couple of years ago, may not be as significant now. So it is important to continuously tune your SEO program. It does take time. I would allow at least a few weeks to a month before you start seeing any results. And because it's constantly changing, you have to keep abreast of any latest algorithm changes or anything that could be happening and modify your website accordingly. Now, SEO incorporates on-page and off-page efforts or tactics. So we're going to go through some of those now. First of all, on-page SEO, that's everything that happens on your site that affects its ranking. Now, things like readable URLs, for example, this is a really basic one that you'd be surprised how many websites don't have readable URLs, but a readable URL would be a page, so you've got your website.com.au/about us. That's a readable URL. You might find that some businesses have that exact same page, but the URL is your website.com.au/ABC123. So it's a code as opposed to the actual word. Those readable URLs are really important. Good internal links are really important. Now, I touched on this earlier, but that's page-to-page linking of relevant content. So your homepage talks about your product range, for example, and then at that point, it links to the specific page as and when it talks about them. That's a key element for SEO. And the more internal links you can have, the easier it is for the customer. So that's a key thing, that the customer doesn't have to do that work, go up to the menu, find what page it is that you're talking about where you've got these products. They can just press one button and go straight there. 301 redirects are really important. Now, this is if you're trying to redirect someone. Let's say you've had a page on your website, you've decided to take it down because that product's no longer available or no longer relevant. Instead of sending someone to a page where they're going to get an error message, so a 404 error, I'm sure you've already had, had one of those at some stage, you're going to redirect them to go to another page. So it might go back to your home page or to a different product page. So it's kind of like a redirection of that path, essentially. Page load time is really important. I mentioned that earlier, but keep an eye on speed. Images can impact that. Unused code that's sitting in the back end can impact that. So make sure you do test that regularly. Now, Google has a range of developer tools, and one of them is a page speed test. So you can do that test and just see how well things how well your page is loading. There's also page title tags, there's meta descriptions, there's alt tags and heading tags, which we've touched on, but some of these get a bit more technical. So we are going to go into them in a little bit more detail. Now, we'll start with title tags. Title tags, so each of the pages in your website should have its own unique title tag that includes the main keywords that you've researched for that page. So it's not the headline that's displayed on the actual page itself. It is only visible in code view, but it's what you see on your screen in the red square. So Google and other search engines will use this page title tag to display as the main title in their search results, like you see. The optimal length is about 60 characters. Now, that's long enough to display a good title without it getting cut off. So don't use stop words like the, and, is, and those kind of things in the title. The preferred format is to put your primary keywords first and then subsequent keywords. So do keep in mind, this is an absolute critical factor for Google robots, but it can also really heavily influence consumers. The more appealing your title is, the more likely it is to be clicked, and therefore you'll get people to your website. So that is your ultimate goal, is to get people to click through to your website. Then you've got your meta description. So your meta description is not visible in any part of your site except if you check the actual HTML code. Now, this is the little description that is found underneath your title in search results, like the example that you see on your screen. The meta description doesn't affect your ranking in search engines, but it is like a mini ad for your webpage, and it's free. So if it's well written, it can really encourage people to click through to your site, which obviously boosts your traffic to your site, and you have more chance of actually getting customers. So hugely important. One important thing to note is if you don't enter a meta description for your pages, then Google is going to do it for you. Now, Google will do it for you by taking a small sample of your text from your page. Now, it doesn't know specifically what it's looking for, and it's certainly not a business owner within your business. So sometimes they could be cut off, or it could maybe not be relevant to your keywords, or not what you'd like the customer to see. So do keep that in mind and take control of that yourself. Now, this is only about 160 characters in your meta description, and that's sort of the best length to make sure text doesn't get cut off. Just make sure that you don't use the same meta description on every page of your website. Google absolutely hates that. So do make the description for each page unique, and rightly so. Each page has different information on it, so it should in fact be unique. Now we've got alt tags and heading tags. Now, alt tags that you see on the left-hand side of your screen are used for images. They're HTML tags that you can use to describe what the image is. So search engines like Google can't see an image. So without a description, they don't have any idea what it is or if it's even relevant. So if Google web bots can find your image because it's correctly labeled, then you could appear in a Google Images search, but at the very least, it really helps with SEO on that page. So it is a good idea to include local keywords or the title of the page that you're with the keywords that you're trying to rank for, as well as, you know, maybe one or two words about the image. So don't label all of the images the exact same thing, but you do want to incorporate those keywords. So keep that in mind. On the right-hand side, you see heading tags. Now, heading tags are important for SEO, very important for SEO, but they do also help the reader of your content to determine what the content is on your page and how important it is. So you think of a website that you've seen, you see the heading, that should be sort of the main info, what the entire page is about. And then subsequent or smaller headings will just help break up the content and draw the reader's eyes to certain sections. Behind the scenes, they should be coded. H1, like I said, what the entire page is about. Then H2, H3, H4, and subsequent pages will be what those individual sections are about. So, like I said, web readers will glance over a page, so those headings will draw their eyes to specific topics, but search engines use heading tags as indicators of context. So what's on the page and how does it relate to what the user is searching for? All of those heading tags are weighted differently, with H1 being the most important. So as you can see, it sort of scales down, which is sort of depicted in the image that you can see on your screen. All right, then we've got off-page SEO. Now, off-page SEO, I'm just waiting for that slide to change, so excuse me just a second. But off-page SEO, skip too far. Off-page SEO or off-site SEO are any actions that are taken outside of your website to impact, that will impact rankings within search engine results pages and will link people back to your website. So off-page optimization, I find, makes up the majority of an SEO strategy. It really helps to build the credibility of your website. You want your website to rank above others with similar messages. So to achieve that, you really have to build the authority. So a few ways to do that. First of all, you've got link building. Link building is a process of getting external pages to link to a page on your website. Now, building links can be complicated, it can be time consuming, and it can be a bit of a process. You do also have to keep in mind that all links, not all links, I should say, are created equal. So if you've got a link from an authoritative website, it's going to make a much greater impact on a search engine results page than a link from a newly built or a low quality site. So keep that in mind. Now, Google bots will count all the links that are coming into your website. They'll give more weight to quality links and rank accordingly. So if your site had 100 poor quality links and your competitor had 15 good quality links, for example, the chances are that your competitor is going to rank higher than you. So that's a really crucial aspect of link building. Google's become very good at spotting a scam in this sense. So a good quality link should come from a trusted and a reputable site, or a site that's kind of related to your type of business. Generally speaking, they'll be difficult to come by and require some kind of human intervention. So I think of things like a membership, for example, a membership that you have to engage with, sign up to, and then as a result, you get a listing on their webpage, which will link through to your site. Normally, you would have a link from a page that has content related to the content it's being linked to. So let's say you're a coffee supplier, for example, you might, as one of the things that you you did, you might have a link from a coffee page right through to the coffee section of your website. So rather than just linking everything to the home page. And it should be sort of likely to be clicked by the reader as well. Now, there are some really good ways of getting backlinks. Earning them is one way. Now, earning organic backlinks is really done through high quality content. So an organic backlink happens when a user is so impressed by your content that they either link to it from their own blog or website or content, or they share it. So they're only going to make that decision if the content's relevant, if it's useful, if it's thought-provoking or educational. So if you're writing content, things like blogs, you have to make sure that that content is at a very high level to try and earn backlinks that way. Building backlinks is another way. So networking or relationship building is a good way to build backlinks. You need to have a bit of a plan of action. You know, you could make contact with other website owners and managers and ask for a link to your content if it's relevant to their business and your business. You might want to write guest posts for other blogs that then link back to your site. I would methodically check for any unlinked mentions of your business or your brand throughout the internet, or make sure that you're keeping an eye out for broken links and then request a working link. So how you can do that is to set up a Google alert, for example. You might have a Google alert set up for your business name. You might see that someone's written an article about you and they haven't included a link. So then you can reach out to them and say, thanks so much for the article. It's great. Is there any chance you could link back to our website? So keeping an eye on any unlinked mentions is really important. Creating backlinks yourself by adding your website to business directories or other niche websites that might be relevant to your business is a good idea as well. Now, very shortly, we'll talk about some essential online business listings, and they're fantastic for backlinks. So we'll talk about that. The other thing that you can do is check out your competitors. So I think it's one of the easiest ways to get backlinks and that people don't always think about. But just Google your competitor's name. Literally just pop them in a Google search and see what websites they come up for. If those websites are relevant to your business, then click through to them, see if the pages do already include a link to your website. They may or may not, but if they don't, then I'd try and pursue the same opportunity that your competitor has. So keep that in mind. You then might have other non-link related off-page SEO. So earning links from external websites is the most commonly practiced off-page SEO strategy, but almost any activity that occurs outside of your own website and helps to improve your search ranking can be thought of as off-page SEO. So social media marketing, social media sends signals. So what you're doing in and around social media by way of likes, comments, mentions, and shares, all helps build your activity in that social media space and send signals to Google, which will help your ranking. Guest blogging, for example, you might blog on other people's websites, which can be fantastic for off-page SEO. Obviously, we've talked about linked and unlinked brand mentions as well. So if there are any unlinked brand mentions, always ask for a link if you can. And then, of course, there's influencer marketing. So influencer marketing can be hugely valuable, can be really good for not only a PR, from a PR perspective for your business, but also from an SEO perspective, because there'll be a lot of links going back and forth and a lot of activity in and around your business. So absolutely consider that. Now, SEO is a really in-depth topic, and I did say this at the beginning, but everything that we've spoken about today, we could talk about for an entire day per topic. So I'd really encourage you, that's an absolute fly through on websites and SEO. I would highly encourage you to get on to our range of workshops and webinars and have a look at our advisors and seek out more information in this space. All right, I mentioned business directories are great from an SEO perspective. There are some essential online business directories or business listings. Now, there's two sides to a directory. Sometimes you will get traffic from a directory. So people might go onto a directory like, a Google listing, or they might go onto a Yellow Pages listing or something like that and actually find businesses that way. And then you'll get the business or the traffic as a result of that. But the other side of it is SEO. This creates a local profile for you, providing your name, address, and phone number and your website are consistent across all of your business listings. It really builds a profile about you from a local search perspective on the web, and which is great for SEO. Now, in terms of some of those essential online business directories, Google My Business, which is now called Google Business Profile, that's a combination of Google Places, Google Search, so everything's in that one area. That is absolutely crucial. So if you haven't gone on there, claimed your listing, again, we do an entire webinar on your Google Business Profile. So you can learn ways to really optimize that listing and to make it really stand out. But at the bare minimum, make sure that you've claimed your listing or that you have a Google Business Profile listing with a map location. Now, a lot of small businesses I speak to, they work from home or don't actually want to have an address listed. That's absolutely fine. You can hide your actual address and just dictate your service areas, for example, so it still helps from a local search perspective. Any other review sites that might be relevant to your business? So think about what business you're in and what sites you might get reviewed on. Now, there could be a health review site. There could be, TripAdvisor like there is for travel and tourism. There could be Zomato like there is for restaurants. So have a look at any review sites that are relevant to your business. With review sites, make sure that not only are you claiming your listing so that you're getting notifications anytime a review is placed, but also make sure that you are active on there in responding. So really think about it as you're writing a response, not necessarily for the individual that has left a review, but for everyone else to see as well. And it's really important. Again, from a PR perspective, it's absolutely crucial that you're addressing any reviews, positive or negative, and responding to them tactfully, diplomatically, and in a way that you I guess acknowledge that you're spotlighting your business to everyone else. It's not just a private conversation between you and the individual that's left the review. Business directories, there are a range. There's like about 25 that I can sort of think of, but the top are Yellow Pages, True Local, and Yelp. So keep that in mind. They tend to be the top. But again, do a Google search of your competitors and see what directories they're listed on and try and pursue those same opportunities. It will always change industry to industry. There's some that are unique to tradies and the building industry. There's others that are unique to health professionals. So really have a look at your industry as to what directories might be appropriate for you. Social media, having your social media profiles established is absolutely crucial, and these become online business listings. Just keep in mind, and we've spoken about this a few times, but really understanding your target market is the key thing here. You have to know exactly who it is that you're speaking to know what platforms they're going to be on. You don't have to be on all social media platforms. You just have to be on the ones that are most relevant to your core target market. Now, in terms of, I touched on your name, address, phone number, but do keep in mind having it consistent across all business listings is really important. So making sure that it is the same. So if you've changed a phone number, if you maybe have a mobile and a landline, making sure that you have that consistency across all those listings is really important. It does put you at a disadvantage to not have that physical address, but you also don't want people turning up to your home if you work from home, so keep that in mind as well. But that's really more from a local search perspective. An address is required to get those quality local listings. And do keep in mind that sometimes these business listings actually refer traffic. Okay, next we're looking at remarketing. So there's a range of different pay-per-click types of advertising you can do, or search engine marketing. Now, any pay-per-click advertising is fantastic. It's cost-effective. It can be immediate. It can be very flexible and tracked. But we're not going to go into AdWords or other pay-per-click advertising at the moment. We're just going to talk about remarketing. I think if you're not doing anything else from a pay-per-click perspective, remarketing should be the bare minimum of what you consider. So SEO is ranking organically when people search, and then there's search engine marketing. Remarketing is absolutely a form of search engine marketing, and it's all done through the Google AdWords network. Now, done correctly, it can be really good for increasing your brand awareness and really influencing conversions, and it can be very low cost. So the concept is quite simple. You can see the image on your screen, but basically you're reinforcing your brand to people that have already visited your website. So however they've got to your website, it could be from your car driving past or a brochure or a Google search, but they've hit your website. Google then tracks them. And when they leave your site, your ads will start to appear in banners or pop-ups on other sites that they browse. Now, those other sites have to have Google advertising space, so that's a key thing. But thinking about what you've noticed in and around the web, you will have most definitely been a recipient of remarketing. You may or may not have noticed it. Some people that do remarketing, or some businesses, are a lot more aggressive than others in terms of you really feel like you're being stalked and you're seeing the ads pop up aggressively. You set all the rules on that. So you might say you only want your ad to be served a few times a day, and you're only going to track people and serve your ads to them for a period of 3 days. Those kind of rules and that kind of process is entirely up to you and set by you based on knowing your clients, knowing their purchase behavior. You might know that if they haven't made a decision within 24 hours, or if they haven't booked with you within 24 hours, then chances are you're not going to get that sale. So do keep that in mind. Now, the key thing about this is you only pay once the user actually clicks your ad. So they've been to your site, they've left without transacting, they've then seen your ad on another site. They may see it 10 times, but on the 10th time, they might go, that's right, I really did need to buy those shoes, for example. I'll now go and get them. They click, that's when you pay. So as an advertiser, you haven't paid for the other 9 times that they've seen your ad. So that's why it becomes very cost effective. You would think that by the time they click to go back to your website, they're pretty serious at that point. So I'd highly encourage, like I said, if you're not doing anything else from an AdWords perspective or a pay-per-click perspective, definitely consider remarketing. Now, there is something similar with Facebook, and this is through adding a Facebook pixel to your website, but you can do a similar thing where you're tracking people that are on your website. When they leave your website and go to Facebook, you can place some Facebook ads. That is really, really, again, cost effective and effective from a consumer perspective. Okay, now a quick touch on social media. Now, social media has made a huge impact on almost all industries. Consumers do engage with social networking sites to research products and services, to make informed decisions about their purchases, to share their own personal experiences of particular products and services. So it is an absolutely crucial component of all business. Now, user-generated content is what comes as a result of social media, and it is seen by the online community as a lot more credible and authentic than any kind of advertising. So you really have to think about, first of all, you can't be on all social media platforms unless you've got a seriously committed marketing team that have a lot of time. So you have to really narrow that down to the channels that are accessed by your target markets. It comes back to knowing specifically who it is that you're targeting and what platforms they're on. So really work out what people matter most for your business and build content for them. That content should be snackable content, so small pieces of information. We don't want extensive stories or anything lengthy on here. It has to be digestible, and snackable is really the best word for that. Engagement is what you're looking for here. Now, again, a lot of small businesses will say to me, how many times a day should I post? How many times a week should I post? I would say quality over quantity all the time. So they have to be, your posts have to be engaging. So you're looking for likes, you're looking for comments, you're looking for shares. If you've got content and you go, oh, it's Thursday, I promised I'd post today, it's on my list of things to do to post something, and you're forcing yourself to develop a post, put a picture up, it's not really that good, but it's Thursday and you have to post on Thursday, then what you're going to find is you're not going to get that engagement, and it's going to impact whether or not people want to continue following you, obviously whether they engage with that post, and then it's going to affect how well your subsequent posts do. So it is really important that you don't miss any opportunity on social media by producing low quality content that's not going to get engagement. Now, that engagement that you get by way of likes, comments, and shares really does, as I mentioned earlier, send signals to search engines like Google. So it is really important from an SEO perspective. I'd recommend that you not only post your own content, but think about the kind of organizations that you work with or memberships that you might have, and try and engage with your industry as well. So send them content that they might want to reuse and put out and tag you in to their networks. But do keep in mind, social media is very much a visual language. It's all about the images. So if you've got something interesting to say, always put an image along with it. People just don't want words in their newsfeed. It is very much a visual language. And always post from mobile first. Create that mobile content first. For example, portrait style pictures, because it suits all platforms, and then worry about desktop later. So again, a very quick fly through on social media, and keep in mind we have many topics, webinars, workshops, and advisors that are extremely experienced in social media that can help you really pave out your path on a range of different platforms. So no matter what it is, we generally have a specialist that can help in those areas. All right, so finally today we're going to talk about email marketing. Now, there's a range of software that you can use for cost-effective email marketing. Email marketing should be a key part of your strategy. Again, it is very low cost. It just takes time, essentially. You do have to build a good database, and you've got to get that ethically and responsibly. People have to know that they're signing up to email marketing, and you always have to give them the opportunity to unsubscribe. But think about your business processes and how people transact with you. Do you get email addresses at the time of purchase or time of booking or engaging with customers? I wouldn't recommend doing anything like prize draws to get email databases, because what you end up with is a database of people that really only wanted a prize. So when you start sending them out information about your business, they're not really that interested because they didn't win the prize, so they're not committed anymore. So really think about quality over quantity in terms of your email database. Now, I do have on as a bullet point there, unsubscribes can be a good thing, because you just don't want people on your email marketing list that aren't engaged with your brand. So do keep that in mind. Now, personalization is really key. Get personal with people based on what you know about them. So you've developed a database, you know, maybe some purchase or transaction kind of history, but get personal about the products and service that they're more likely to be interested in. Don't just promote, provide information to people. Now, that could be info about the products and services that you sell. It could be tips, hints, useful content to your audience. They're going to be a lot more engaged if you're giving them something rather than trying to sell them something. Definitely segment your database for best results, but you need to know your audience to be able to segment them. Now, segmentation by postcode is pretty popular, or, you know, pretty easy to do well, and most people do sort of consider that. But it could be things like past purchases, gender. It could be absolutely anything that you segment them by, but create as many segments as you can so that you can then personalize that marketing. Now, the last point there, I did mention unsubscribes being a good thing, but that last point, your from name and your subject line are extremely important to ensure opens. So let's say I bought, you know, a health product online, and then I obviously gave my email address, agreed to email marketing, but the first email I get is from John Smith, who happens to be the director of that health product company. I don't know John Smith. I'm not familiar with that name. So the first thing I'm likely to do is think it's spam, delete it, unsubscribe it. So that from name is really important. It has to be relevant to how the person subscribed as well. So always make it the business name that they've subscribed to, so that it stays in the inbox and it makes sense to them as to why they're receiving it. And then your subject line. Your subject line is everything. People aren't going to continue on and open the email or even read the first line if that subject line isn't appealing to them on some level. All right, so as I said, an absolute fly through of some core digital topics, but that is it from me. Keep in mind, though, that everything that happens in a digital sense can be measured. So make sure that if you're implementing any of these things that we've discussed, make sure you're tracking your results. Do things like your own monthly reporting to track results, so that you can measure how you're going month to month, set yourself some KPIs, and really make changes as and when you need to. Now, there is a world of online and digital info that hopefully this webinar has opened you up to. Don't hesitate to reach out for subsequent workshops, webinars, and advisory. Now, we present this workshop on behalf of the Digital Solutions Commonwealth Government Program. So you can, for $44 as part of this program, get access to some one-on-one mentorship. Now, the $44 includes 3 one-on-one sessions with an advisor, plus a range of workshops and webinars to make up that 7 hours. So do keep that in mind, and contact us if that is of interest to you, and take advantage of that support that's available. There's some eligibility around that. You have to be based in WA, Queensland, or NT. You have to be operating for profit and employ fewer than 20 full-time staff. So thank you again for joining me today. I'm going to stay on now. So if you do have any questions, shoot them through either on chat or Q&A. But otherwise, reach out if you need any subsequent info or any support. But thanks again for joining me.